Morning YTPC, Northeast Pipe UK here. I mentioned a few weeks ago about showing you how to do your own wax melts as a nice little personal touch for a Christmas present for somebody. So I'm going to do it today. So I'll give you a rundown of items that you'll probably need. First of all, an old metal jug. This is an old sort of tea jug thing that I managed to pick up in a cheap store. This will pretty much just go straight onto the ring. Some candles. Again, these are just ones I picked up in the cheap shop. I think I paid £1 for this one. You can go for more exotic waxes if you like. This is a paraffin wax, so it's when it sets rock hard. It's not like mushy. So again, for what you're going to use it for, it is a cheap alternative. Also, if you can, in some cheap shops you can pick up these little moulds. Quite cheap. I think I picked these ones up for about £1. Get them in different styles. I've got a rose one there. I've got a heart one as well, which I'm not using. Or again, if you want to go more the traditional, like the Yankee Candle style, if you go on such as Amazon or some craft shops, you can order these flower moulds. These hold about 20 grams of wax. Again, when I used to manufacture them as part of my business, I used to use a soya wax because I used to have a lot of people asking for that type of wax. But what I tend to find is it's quite hard to get out of the oil burner, and it can feel a bit mushy as well. So it's got a quicker melting point, which is unfortunate if you're trying to sell them and it's a hot day, because they end up melting in the display. But for this will be perfect. So basically, just take your candle and just chop it up into little bits and place it into the metal jug, and keep that on a low heat on the cooker. Again, melted wax is quite dangerous, so if you're going to do this, make sure that there's no children or animals around. Keep them well out the way. Also, melted wax it is like cooking oil, it can burst into flames when it reaches a certain temperature. So again, don't take your eyes off it. It can melt pretty quick. And but again, within 10 minutes this is going to be ready to pour, so it's not like you have to really go and do anything while it's melting. Again, all I suggest is that you keep a close eye on it. And again, because it is similar to cooking oil, I always keep a tea towel and a dish of water close by, because again, if it was going to set on fire, I would just soak that and drop it over the top and get it off the heat. I've been doing this for 10 years now. It's never happened to me, because again, I never leave it when it's melting. Always keep a close eye on it. Another thing to get is you can get yourself a nice little box to put them in, or you can get some nice little bags, little seal bags to put them in. It's entirely up to you. So I'm going to pause this now while I let this melt. It's a bit like Blue Peter, it's a step-by-step guide on what to do. So again, it's up to yourself. If you have safety glasses, I would suggest you wear them. It's just really common sense and being very careful, because it's like anything else. You've got to respect what you're doing and think of your own safety first. So I've got this on the heat now. It's melting away nicely. Like I say, it's pretty quick in melting. So one of the fragrances I've chose, again, it's a cheap alternative. You can go on such as Amazon and you can order top end fragrances, but for this I've just bought the Airwick plug-in fragrances. This one's the mulled wine, so it's a nice Christmassy one. Again, you can pick these up for about £3 or £4. What I usually do is, after Christmas, these tend to get dropped down half price, so I usually go in and buy quite a few for the following year. So, because these really are a good one. Again, last year I made it a nice jar candle. Again, I just used a similar candle to this. When I broke the candle up, I kept the wick, and I just bought some of the little sustainers for the bottom, glued that in, and I was reusing the wick, so again saved money there. So while this is melting, I'm going to pause and I will see you all again in a moment. Hello again, everybody. Well, the wax is almost melted now, so when you've only got a few little dregs in the bottom, I tend to just take off the heat, because the heat of the wax is going to melt what's left in there anyway. I use an old knife to stir it. It's usually the knife that I tend to use for cutting the wax, so I'll dedicate this to this anyway. So now the wax is all melted. Again, be careful with this because it will be warm, so make sure you don't burn yourself. So this is ready for the fragrance now. Again, if you want to add colour, you can get the little coloured blocks. I'm not going to bother colouring this because the actual dye in the fragrance gives it that nice little colour anyway. So that saves having to put any additives in anyway. So what I've done with the fragrance is I've pulled out the little sponge in the centre, and with this I'm going to pour the whole bottle in here. Don't use cheap fragrances because a lot of them tend to be water based, so when you add it to the wax it'll be like adding oil to water really. It'll just go into little balls at the bottom, and you'll basically waste the wax. Again, I found these work great as a cheap alternative. You can get proper fragrances for wax online. Again, I'm just doing this as a cheap way so you're not spending a lot of money, because some of them can be quite expensive. And just give that a good stir around. Let it mix in with the wax. Always keep some kitchen roll handy. Right, so I'll just reposition the camera, so I'll be 2 seconds. Sorry, it's not the best angle to do this, but I can't get a better angle on the camera, I'm afraid. So we've got everything ready now to pour. So I always keep some kitchen roll handy to cover the spout, and then very carefully just pour. It's been a while since I've done this, so my hand might not be as steady as it normally is. Again, if any wax spills, the good thing is that you just leave it to cool, and then you can just scrape it up with a knife. Just take your time, there's no rush. So there we go, there's one done. So that's that mould. Again, I've got these flower style. If you go in some hobby shops, you can actually find the packs which are called floating candles, which you can get a pack of 6 of these in, but they do work out quite expensive. So again, you're probably better off just getting these cheap ones, because they do the nice little small melts. I used to find about 500 grams of wax would do me 12 of these. Sorry, 24. Again, depending on what style you'd like to do, there's plenty of things available. Again, I'm used to doing this, so but be very careful, because these can get quite hot. It's like being a chef, you end up getting asbestos fingers doing this. Again, these are quite handy if anybody's getting married, you want to do some little wedding favours. They are quite nice. And when you get to the bottom, you can always go back and just top up. And there we go. While the jug is still warm, I tend to get straight in there with kitchen roll and give it a good clean up before the wax has a chance to harden and cool down. I usually have a heat gun, something that strips paint. I tend to use one of those to get the wax out. But if you're quick enough with kitchen roll to give it a quick rub round and clean out, you tend to catch it. Don't put any wax down the drains, and that's just a recipe for disaster and blocking them up. So we've got them poured out now, so I will pause you again. So that's pretty much how easy it is, really. I get these boxes and it holds exactly 12 of those little melts. I've done the label myself on the computer and just printed it out on sticky printing paper. Again, it's up to you how fancy you would like to go, but just out of that candle and that one, I'm getting 13 large melts and 15 of the small ones. So all of those has probably come to the value of about less than £5. So again, you can buy a really nice oil burner. I mean, these ones I used to get for the craft fairs. I just picked these up for a few pounds, but because you're making the wax melts yourself and you're saving quite a bit of money, you could really invest in a really nice oil burner from you know, like a Yankee Candle or a top end brand, and put your own melts in, and then you can always say to whoever you give it to that I made those. I hope you enjoy them, and I hope you do give it a go, and I'd like to know if you have. Let us know what you thought. Again, just really take your time, be very careful. That's probably taken me about half an hour to do. The hardest part really is waiting for it to set, and you just pop them out, put them in a bag. So thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye for now.